Freitag hat uns Michael Neff von Gear besucht. Die sitzen in Oregon, um den Pros vom Fleesensee das neue Gear-System vorzustellen. Die Videos im Internet sind dazu ja ganz vielversprechend, aber ob man $40.000 dafür auf den Tisch legen will, kann man natürlich immer erst sagen, wenn man das System live gesehen und ausprobiert hat. Ich habe der Präsentation mit einem gewissen Argwohn entgegengesehen, denn ich hatte mal ein halbes Jahr lang das Golf Biodynamics System von Rob Neal und das ist natürlich ein bisschen günstiger, aber für mich war es zu ungenau, zu umständlich und die Software auch zu unausgereift. Vielleicht kennt der ein oder andere Zuschauer ja das MAT-System von TaylorMade. Das Akronym steht für Motion Analysis Technology von TaylorMade, also MATT. Und in Herzogenaurach war ich mal beim Schlägerfitting und da habe ich dann auch eine Schwunganalyse mit dem MAT-System von mir machen lassen und fand das ganz nett. Aber damals hieß es, zumindest haben die das bei TaylorMade gesagt, dass das System 250.000 € kosten würde. Und außerdem funktioniert dieses System nur indoor. Man bekommt also dann immer bestenfalls einen berechneten Ballflug. Das Gear-System hat 3 große Vorteile gegenüber dem MAT-System. Erstens macht es 360 Bilder pro Sekunde statt 100 wie das MAT-System. Es funktioniert jetzt auch draußen. Also es gibt 2 verschiedene Varianten. Eine für $30.000, die nur drinnen geht, und eine für $40.000, die eben dann auch draußen geht. Was ungewöhnlich ist, weil so diese Motion Analysis Systeme normalerweise große Schwierigkeiten haben, wenn da Tageslicht reinkommt. Aber hat ganz wunderbar funktioniert. Also man kann es dann in einer geöffneten Hütte benutzen oder auch ganz draußen stehen, sodass man eben richtige Bälle auf die Range schlagen kann. Und dann kostet es eben nur noch 40.000 €. Das ist der dritte große Vorteil gegenüber 250.000, was ja eigentlich für eine normale Golfschule dann nicht mehr relevant ist. Aber 40.000, das kann man sich ja da tatsächlich überlegen. Die Software von Gears macht einen sehr ausgereiften Eindruck und man bekommt erheblich mehr Daten als bei allen anderen Systemen. Die Kameras haben wir hier zur Demonstration auf Stative gestellt, aber wenn man das System fest installiert, werden die natürlich dann an den Wänden fixiert.
All the major joint angles, and so you can view these from all these different positions, from any position. So like, let's say I wanted to go mid down. This is pretty hard upside down, guys. So if I want to see the relationship of the club face, so the loft is basically, pretty flat on that angle, but I can also get his flexion and extension of his wrists, both wrists, and how that relates to the club face. So most of your players, most of your big slicers are going to have a lot of wrist extension here. The face is going to be way open, and they're going to need an excessive closure rate to be able to even square that up. So now you'll know if you need to fix this piece or if you need to fix this piece, right? And it's different for every amateur, every beginning golfer. They're going to unhinge and hinge the club differently. But the relationship of the hand path, there's just a lot of different visuals here. We'll go through some of them. This is basically, so there's just the X factor, if you want to put that. That's the separation of the hips and the shoulders. You can look at that from face on. So you'll get X factor between the shoulders and the hips from that angle, or you can look above and you can get the X factor of the hips and the shoulders from that angle. So all these different angles at which you'll be able to do that. We have a sight line number where you can look face on, and you can see basically where the center of the eyes are looking throughout the golf swing. Okay, and then you can, obviously there's a ball position line here. That's important. Those are visual tools, posture lines, head bubble. Okay, this is basically to help you find the head positions. So Ian Poulter comes forward, so his head actually comes forward. Many would call this a reverse pivot. shoulder plane, best viewed from down the line, elbow plane, vertical plane, and then there's a shaft plane. So these are the drawing tools that you would use. A lot of people like. Boom, boom, boom. Lateral tilt is going to be the hip and the torso separation. And that number is given right here. Lateral tilt, excuse me, frontal bend. Frontal bend is going to be this line being the torso, this line being the hips. You'll be able to see the separation of the two. And then you can also see that from face on. Stack and tilt boys love this. So you can kind of see the separation of the hips and the spine.
Ein großer Nachteil der Videoanalyse besteht ja hauptsächlich darin, dass man lediglich ein 2D-Abbild einer dreidimensionalen Wirklichkeit bekommt. Wenn man beispielsweise den Radialwinkel im linken Handgelenk von vorne misst, dann wirkt der Winkel umso spitzer, je flacher der Schläger ist, und das verzerrt natürlich die Informationen, die man eigentlich braucht. Aber mit den 8 Kameras und den vielen Kugeln am Körper, die Sears übrigens auf ein 1/5 Millimeter genau orten kann man jetzt von jedem Schwung Kurven bekommen, die tatsächlich anzeigen, wann das Handgelenk wie viel radial gewinkelt oder palmar gebeugt ist. Und dann werden die Wischiwaschi-Videoinformationen tatsächlich zu harten Fakten. In 20 Jahren wird man wahrscheinlich über die 2D-Videoaufnahmen, die wir heute machen, genauso lächeln wie heute über einen Lehrer, der sich auf sein bloßes Auge verlässt. Natürlich ist so ein System in der Hand eines didaktischen Analphabeten fast nichts wert. Die Gefahr ist nämlich viel zu groß, dass der zunächst erst als Lehrer selber von der Datenmenge völlig überfordert ist und eine Stunde später wird wahrscheinlich der Schüler in einem Zustand sein, den ein Golfer mal ganz nett mit High-Level Confused bezeichnet hat. Aber wer weiß, was er tut und seine Schüler nicht ausschließlich mit differenziellem Training beschäftigt oder gar den Ansatz wählt, jedem fortgeschrittenen Golfer das Spiel von der Pike auf neu beibringen zu wollen, der findet hier mit dem Sears-System ein Werkzeug, was wirklich seinesgleichen sucht. Besonders überrascht hat mich auch die Geschwindigkeit. Wenn man beispielsweise nur den Schläger trackt, dann liegen alle Informationen wirklich unmittelbar nach dem Schlag vor. Und wenn man Körper und Schläger aufzeichnet, dann dauert es ungefähr 3 Sekunden, bis man das Ergebnis hat.
And then it comes back. So you can look at that from any angle. You can see the relationship there. Now it's going to start to square out. Or you could just, you know, you guys are great professionals. Just think of how you would look at this from a 2D. This is middle back. So the face is very open, mid back, and mid down. It's square. So you can look at that down the line. So this is kind of unique, right? Pretty open coming, a lot of extension in this wrist. Rolls the face open here. And something's happening from here to mid down, where he's starting to get that club. He's going from extension to flexion, and he gets it back to square, and that's what's squaring the club face up. But that happens basically from extension here. He's in 21, and he's going to get to 0 from here to mid down. He goes like this.
That's how it's in Hogan's book.
Wouldn't you like to know? I mean, so I think this is what's unique about gears. I think we're the only ones that can actually give you the face angle data at the same time as your wrist information and body data, right? So as you get close to, so then he's going to square this up pretty good, and then we can look at different angles to see how this all works. So I'm pretty interested to see. So he's in extension, 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 pretty flat. Now he's in a little bit of extension here. 10 degrees of extension, right? Which is pretty good.
Is this always, the picture is going to be exactly like the numbers, or is it?
Well, you're going to see, I mean, like 10 degrees is not that much, but he's pretty flat right here. But there's a little bit of flexion that you can see there.
But I would always
so it
use
was
the numbers.
going and then flexing again.
But use the numbers.
Yeah.
you know, we've done a pretty good job of recreating an avatar here.
Yeah.
But seeing this relationship, and this is one of the reasons why he's hitting slightly down on it, right? Impact, he hits down on it just a smidge. 107 miles per hour. Angle of attack is 0.9 for 1 degrees down. The path is 2 degrees inside out. The face is closed to the path, 1.4. So the face is open to the target, closed to the path. Okay. Closure rate, like we said, is about middle of the road.
Which is middle of the road?
500
okay.
roughly. I mean, a slow closure rate is going to be 300, 3-ish. Fast is going to be 700. And then we're also going to find out, you know, how kind of look at this droop to deflection ratio, right? Really good.
Can you say that again?
So if you'll see this, so this is ideal, right? So this is a droop deflection that we're loving, right? So we want, he's gonna have a faster grip speed, right? Because he's basically, you know, not, you know, uncoiling the club too fast. He's not offending the golf club as much, right, as I am.
Offending the golf club.
Right? He's not offending it. He's not forcing it to move, right, as much. Where the, you know, a lot of the long drive guys and a lot of the slashers and the Bubba Watson would be the best case scenario of a super high deflector.
I've been attending nonviolent communication seminars for 10 years, so that might be the reason why I'm not offending the golf club anymore.
Let me give you some more cool features. This is the center of the pelvis. Okay, best viewed from above. This is basically your center of mass, center of pelvis.
And X-Factor stretch, can we...
Yeah.
So keine Druckplatten mehr.
Wow.
So let's see where he's aiming. So this is a great tool to show people where they're aiming, right? His shoulders are slightly open to his feet. You're going to see the shoulders and the hips and the knees. You can actually see the numbers if you want right there.
So there's very little separation between shoulder and hip turn in the start. Is that normal?
That is, yes.
Okay.
Yes. Now you'll see here that he's going to get into some extension. So this is the center of his pelvis, and as he takes the club back here, he's going to start to stand up and move his ass towards the ball. So he's going to have a little bit of his extension, right? And we don't love to see a lot here. Ideally, we'd like to see most of the tour players basically stay on this line. So he gets good hip turn, but he's going to start to move towards the ball, right? And then he's going to have a really good lateral shift to the left. Okay.
A really good one, guys.
Yeah. And look how open his shoulders are to impact. This is pretty interesting to me. This is not common. Sorry, let's look above again. At impact, look how open his shoulders are.
That's not impact.
That's impact.
And how many degrees?
18, 19 degrees open.
And my hips?
Or 39, 30, okay. 36 and a half. So there's the X factor of the hips and the shoulder impact. If you just want to look at X factor, you can take this line off and hit that line. And it'll just give you just hips and shoulders.
Yeah, how much was it at the top?
So if you want to see at the top, you got 45 degrees here.
Which was shoulders, how much? Looks like...
If you want to see individual, then you would see 101 shoulders,
okay.
And hips are 52.
Okay.
If you want to see the delta, that's what the X factor does. Mm-hmm. So the pelvis line is very similar to your center of mass. The center of mass is going to be a little bit more forward than the pelvis in a golf swing. But this is a great tool to show. Most tour players have their butt stay on the line throughout the golf swing. So he actually kind of goes back and then forward and then lateral and then forward again, and he never really gets his butt back to that line. So this is a great tool to use for, like, if we want to show, let's say Ricky Fowler here. This is a very unique pelvis trace right here. Very long, very linear. So here's this is Ricky Fowler's pelvis trace right here. So you'll see that basically his butt stays on that line throughout the whole swing. Adam Scott is very similar to this, and so is Justin Rose. So these guys are pretty linear usually. I like a lot of stuff that stack and tilt does, but this is one thing I think they fail on. Stack and tilt, it basically goes forward, goes this way, and then it does a big loop. And it looks like a bow tie. Almost all their guys, the hip basically reverses around and goes forward like that. But I think that there's different ways to do this, and you know, Ian Poulter's looks a little different than this. But what we do see is we do not see a lot of movement this way in the tour players. You would not see this on the PGA Tour. Not that you're not a good player, but you would. It's possible you might, but you wouldn't see this much movement from start to transition of the pelvis.
So what would be very interesting now is to make a swing and change that and see how fast I can get feedback. Exactly this line after my shot.
We're gonna do live here, so go ahead and jump back in.
Jetzt muss mal den Bildschirm filmen.
Let me turn, Rick. Hang on one second, Oliver. So now I'm going to go above, guys, okay? Now, you can see it's not drawn. Go ahead and set up to it. So this is a trace. Go ahead and set up like you're going to hit it, okay? So just slow, don't hit this one, but just kind of move.
Yeah.
So even when he's trying to do it, he's still moving that way, right?
So what do you want to have me doing differently?
Well, you guys tell me.
No, I want this tour average weight
Center of mass.
transfer. So mine was going forward in the backswing already,
On
right?
the back, as you're taking it back,
Okay, so this should be different now.
Yep, that's different. Yep.
Okay, and what should be different in the downswing?
Very similar to what you're doing in the downswing should work.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll capture that here. Hang on, let me find the ball real quick. Okay.
Wow.
Pretty good shot there.
Absurde Bewegung. Was it any different?
Much different, right? So this was what you did that time. You actually went down. Okay. And then watch your butt. Your butt stays on that wall pretty much the whole time. And about right here is where you're probably going to run out of flexibility, and that hip's going to kind of move a little bit that way.
It should still be there, even in the finish.
Very difficult to see what, I mean, you have to be overly flexible to keep your pelvis driving the ball on that line, but it's possible. Now, if I want to compare you to yourself here.
Das war aber nicht Hüftdrehung gerade. Das war Hüft nach hinten schieben.
So here's before and after, right? If I want to overlay you on top of each other, okay, this is before and after. We're going to go to mid down.
That's too complicated for me. I think next to each other is easier to see the difference.
So we'll just go side by side.
Yeah.
This is really cool when it's on a big screen, guys. I mean, with 60-inch TV, it's super effective. So that would be before. This is before, and this is after, right? Now, how did that change? What changed from those? So you have your graphs here, where you can go in and see before and after of the graphs. So they're different colors, but you can kind of see how the graphs move together. And there's your sequencing. But one thing I wanted to see was, let's go to the club graphs.
Alles inkludiert.
When I buy your system in 10 minutes, you can afford a nice beamer for your next presentation.
Great. So I'm kind of interested in anything changing from shaft, any shaft information that was changing there. So there's your droop. So that is kind of interesting to me. pretty big jump there, right? This is kind of interesting, how that's starting to peak different times, right? Before and after.
And did the kinematic chain change in a way that is significant?
Not really.
And how would you interpret that kinematic chain anyway?
Well, this is actually a pretty good sequence. So what we want is there's actually some talk now about how this model is not what we all thought, or is not as healthy. But I have yet to see evidence on this. But there's some biomechanics that want things to kind of, we've always thought it was, torso, lead, wrist, and now they're wanting that to change a little bit. But I don't know. I think that's up for debate.
And the club speed goes up with this move? Or?
So let's take a look, see what changed. So here's all your club data from before and after, right? So the path was about the same. The angle of attack was a little more shallow.
Which is
The
better.
face angle was a little more open. The ball position changed dramatically, right? It went from heel to toe, which makes a lot of sense, right?
And speed
That's-
should have been
that's-
slower because
The speed 104 versus 107, yeah. So your speed went down.
yeah, I was
The
concentrating on
ball
the
speed
movement.
goes up, or not?
The ball speed would have certainly gone up. The club head's actually faster at that point than it is at this point. So even though the center of the club went faster, the impact point changed dramatically. So this ball would have probably, even at that speed, this ball would have gone farther.
Zum Schluss musste ich natürlich nochmal ausprobieren, wie so ein typischer Pulsleisschwung auf dem CS-System aussieht. Und hier wurde der Unterschied zu einem computergestützten Videosystem besonders deutlich. Wenn man da nämlich von Hand den Weg der Hände und des Schlägerkopfes von vorne und der Seite nachmalen will, dann ist man ein paar Minuten beschäftigt und der Schüler verliert Geduld und Aufmerksamkeit. Beim CS-System liegen diese Linien sofort vor und man muss lediglich die knapp 4 Sekunden abwarten, bis die Daten eingelesen sind.
And go ahead.
Oh, habt ihr den Ball gesehen? Was für ein wunderschöner Pulsleister so am Speedspot.
That's a pretty shitty path right there.
Nice. War das so schnell darauf, ja? Hast du alles
Kannst du gleich
weggefilmt?
Jetzt das von der Seite.
Man, this guy needs a lesson.
Well, backwards not bad.
So now the hand path is going to be slightly different, right?
Was that the center of my strike?
No, this was actually hit that pretty solid.
Pretty good.
Now the hand path and this, there's also a head path.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Okay,
Yeah.
so the difference
Nice.
the difference between those is actually different. They're not linear, and there's a lot of different. They look like they're kind of similar, but the hand path sometimes follows the head path, but they are different. So people might think that the hand path looks over the top, but the club head could be way down here. And so the path could be into out with the hand path being way out, which is not usually very
And
good thing.
the thing that most pros overlook is that they always tell someone who's swinging out to, your shoulders are too open at impact.
Yeah.
And very often the shoulders are perfectly square. But
Exactly.
still look,
You could be over the top and closed,
yeah.
right? I mean, we can prove that now. And the beauty about that is if you wanted to measure that, you could just look at impact and go above. Now your shoulders were 16 degrees open with your normal swing, but they're only 11 degrees
Yeah.
closed with your big over-the-top swing. So you just proved your point.
Thanks.
That's you in the same from the ball, not moving. That's before and after. So if you don't know what to do with that as a golf pro, I don't know, we're in the wrong business.
Jetzt wird der Fleesensee-Gast sich natürlich fragen, wann kann ich das von meinem Schwung bekommen? Antwort, ich weiß es nicht. Die Chancen sind seit Anfang des Jahres auf jeden Fall gestiegen, denn wir gehören ja nicht mehr einem Konsortium von zigtausend Investoren, in dem die Verantwortung systembedingt bis zur Unauffindbarkeit diffundierte, sondern es gibt jetzt einen Investor und der hat neben dem Kaufpreis des ganzen Ressorts auch noch zig Millionen für die Modernisierung reserviert. Wir haben schon neue Klamotten, wir bekommen bald neue Rangebälle, der Platz wird momentan umgebaut, es gibt ein neues Puttinggrün, das Restaurant und dessen Terrasse werden komplett umgestaltet, die Hotels werden teilweise renoviert und ich verspreche mein Bestes zu geben, dass das erste Hier-System in Europa an den Fleesensee kommt. Denn das ist die Zukunft des Golfunterrichts. Als wir hier vor 15 Jahren mit 3 Scope-Systemen angefangen haben, waren wir die Avantgarde und jetzt wäre ein geeigneter Zeitpunkt, mal wieder ein Zeichen zu setzen.